Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's staff has released a letter from his doctor clearing him to work. Now, this is after McConnell appeared to freeze in the middle of a press conference for the second time in less than 2 months. The incident has made aging lawmakers and their health a focal point amid the 2024 race for the White House. So Ashley Etienne and Kevin Sheridan joining us now. Ashley is a CBS News contributor and a former communications director for Vice President Kamala Harris and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And Kevin is a founding partner at Protein Public Affairs. He previously served as a spokesperson for the RNC and as a senior advisor to the Romney-Ryan 2012 presidential campaign. I see Jamie looking at me saying, how long is this intro?
Their credentials are very well laid out.
They got great credentials.
Yes.
All right, so Kevin, we are going to start with you. And, you know, this issue with Senator McConnell, when other lawmakers were asked, no one sort of wanted to publicly suggest that maybe there should be a conversation about his health and others. But as I understand it, there's a push for a special meeting to sort of discuss the future leadership within the party. You know, what do you make of this?
Well, up until now, both parties have had our lawmakers in both parties have not been able to put pressure on anyone, due to age, because I think they want to be, protected themselves as they get older in office. But this may be a hinge point moment where if Mitch McConnell does have to step down, then does that put pressure on other very old elected leaders like our president? And does that start to ratchet up some discussion inside the Democratic Party to say, look, 80 years old is tough. There's not too many Chuck Grassley's around at 90 that can still do this job. If anybody who's had an aging parent or grandparent has seen this, the progression can be quick once they start falling, and the age takes over. It's going to get us all.
Yeah, well, that's true. None of us get out of this alive, do we?
If you're lucky. Yeah.
So, Ashley, we're talking about this, but Dianne Feinstein's name has come up. This is a two-party problem. There's issues in both parties. Does the president's age? We've seen it is a concern for voters out there. Does this incident with Mitch McConnell, who's roughly around the same age as the president, hurt the president himself?
Well, I can just tell you my experience is that age is nothing but a number. I've worked for two elected officials, Speaker Pelosi, who's 80, as well as President Biden. And I had a first row seat to watching Pelosi masterfully handle Donald Trump. And, when we look at the current president, he's had unprecedented bipartisan legislative successes. So from my experiences, age is nothing but a number. But what we're seeing with McConnell is something very different. I really believe that his staff is doing him an incredible disservice by continuing to put him out there. There's something clearly very serious going on that you didn't see with my two former bosses that's happening with McConnell now. So I think the issue is very serious for both parties when we talk about Feinstein as well as McConnell. But in my experience, his age is nothing but a number. And I don't think we should disparage anyone based on their age, but, especially given what we've seen from those two leaders that I've worked for.
But what we have seen is that, the older you get, the more chances there are that some of these health issues can impact you very, very quickly.
And keep you away from the job.
Yes.
It's not just, what we saw with Dianne Feinstein is she was sort of not there for a month. She said she was working. I'm not sure you can work from home, but she hadn't been there for a while.
Right. So, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but a new AP poll actually is saying that 77% of the American people, including 69% of Democrats, think that Joe Biden should not serve another 4 years in office, or is not going to be able to serve another 4 years in office. So that's not a criticism of his age. It's a criticism of where they think he's going, and it's not good. He's starting to fall a lot. He seems to be dozing off in meetings and wandering around stage. We've all seen it. They can spin it, but the American people are seeing it.
Kevin, I want to switch topics a little bit. So we're finding out now that Donald Trump's Georgia trial is going to be televised and streamed. I want to ask you about whether or not you think that will work in his favor or could be severely detrimental as the American public really hears sort of the details of the case against him.
Yeah, this is so unprecedented. Who knows? It's going to help him in the primary. I think if conventional wisdom holds, it's going to be the trial of the century or just pure pandemonium. The courthouse will be probably nuts. I can't imagine the scene there.
And I guess Donald Trump, as a candidate, is always an X factor. You know, the stuff that usually, as we've talked about many times, the sort of stuff that, will kill one candidate kind of bolsters him.
Yeah, props him up a little bit. That's actually, there is all this attention on Trump. Do we know why Biden's staying so silent?
Well, because I don't think he's actually staying silent. It depends on what we're talking about here. I mean, he's continuing to make this case that we have to strengthen democracy, that democracy is in a very fragile state right now, and we have to continue to, as a nation, fortify her. So I don't think he's remaining silent. Now, he's not talking about Donald Trump's indictments, because, I think he's operating above board on that. He's not above board, operating above that, right? And is above the fray, and is really focusing more on, the job numbers today that you guys just talked about in the last segment. So he's focusing on his positive agenda and allowing others to talk about Trump's indictments. And in fact, he doesn't have to. I mean, if it's televised, I think that's going to be the best thing for a healthy democracy, is that we see this, that the American public gets to see the evidence in front of them, that there's no questions, it's unfiltered. We get to see directly, very similar to what happened with the January 6th hearings. So, I don't anticipate that the president or any of his staff will be weighing in on this, but they will continue to make the point that we have to shore up American democracy, and that Donald Trump is the greatest threat to that.
Kevin, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had to step away from the campaign trail to deal with the aftermath of the hurricane. And sometimes, candidates can make the most of this opportunity, even though it's a terrible situation. We saw him doing press conferences because I want to get your take on just how he's presenting now. His campaign has not been doing so well. We've talked about how he had to sort of lay people off, how he's got a lot of money raised, but he can't really tap into a lot of that money unless he makes it out of the primary. What was your take on his kind of presentation during Hurricane Idalia?
Yeah, this is the fundamental case for Ron DeSantis. He's competent. He's capable. He's handled every hurricane that has hit Florida during his terms well, and he looks like he's doing it again. He's hands-on. He knows, he's getting the power and Wi-Fi back up quickly. He's and cell signals. He's doing everything that needs to be done and giving the resources. So that's the case for DeSantis. It's better than him walking around at the Iowa State Fair, probably, eating fried butter. This is really where.
For many reasons, it's better than eating fried butter.
No, fried butter's. I'm a Midwestern girl.
Exactly.
This is his wheelhouse. So this is where he should be.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ashley, does this hurricane response make DeSantis a more formidable potential opponent to Biden in any way?
Yeah, I mean, prayers go out to all those affected. And I think to Kevin's point, I mean, it allows DeSantis to really demonstrate some leadership. But it also, more cynical view of it, it allows him to turn the page on the anger and that we saw most recently from the African-American community in Florida about his response to the racist violence that's been taking place in Florida. So, it has its plus and minuses for DeSantis, mostly all pluses. But I can imagine, especially as we go into the next debate, that this issue of racial violence, continues to be hampered by it. But also, I've worked as a staffer for a long time in politics. I mean, the benefit of Florida and the leadership is there's a playbook to handle these, types of incidents that's passed from one administration to the other. So Florida's always well prepared to handle these incidents, but it is an opportunity that I think DeSantis will take advantage of to demonstrate himself as a strong leader who's capable and competent, because that's really the argument too against Donald Trump, is competency. So it allows DeSantis to really demonstrate that in a strong way on an issue that really, tugs at everyone's hearts.
Okay. Ashley, Etienne, and Kevin Sheridan, thank you both so much for being with us today. We appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.